check. 1, 2, jo. Was ist da los? All right. Hi everyone, I think we're ready to start. I'm having some audio issues, as you can maybe tell. But I think I was able to fix them. Hi, No Rent TV. Hello, Nifted Noise. Hello, Shiny. Or Shiny. Hello, Michael. Hi, Mick. Before we dive in to talking about Maschine Plus a bit more in the second live stream on the channel, give me a little feedback about the sound quality, if you can hear me well. As I said, I had some issues with my microphone, something weird that wasn't working as expected. But I hope it is good enough now. Let me know. Hi, Avril Cadabra. Sound quality is top notch, mate, says Michael Sauer. Thanks a lot. Cool. So here I am again with you on a live stream with Maschine Plus. Before I answer any questions, this is the actual production model. This is what you're getting when you're, ordering it. But the software it runs is not quite the final version that it will ship with. It's a very late beta version. There are some things Native Instruments are still working out until release that will be different on your unit, but it's more or less there yet. Stuff they're fixing is mostly about a few features that are not available yet and stability and performance issues. Although I have to say this performs very well, and I had very little to no issues, real-life issues with it while using it. I've been intensely using it for the last days. Not even on purpose. I was just like, okay, let me check out something really quick, and then 3-4 hours later, I was still, making a beat with it. It's really, it sucks you in like that. It has that Maschine workflow that I already liked about the Mark III that I use, and it's nothing different with this one. So let's check out some of the questions. Can you make a hip hop beat? Well, I don't know if I can make a hip hop beat, but if I could make a hip hop beat, I could make a hip hop beat with Maschine, and yeah, for sure we can make one in the stream later. Actually, I made one last night, but I didn't feel like streaming. I was just like checking out a bit more in-depth features that I kind of ignored on the hardware so far, because when I use it with a computer, the controller, you can always use the mouse and keyboard. But now I really had to dig into some stuff that I wasn't able to do without a computer. And it worked out well. Shiny asks, how long does it take to boot? Well, I can show you. And quickly I'll just turn it off by holding the on-off button. Shut down. As you can see, it takes a little moment to shut down. Nothing dramatic though. And now let's turn it on again. Goes into rainbow mode. Now it's booting. Ew. I feel it didn't take that long last time. Not sure if this is how. I couldn't say if it takes the same amount of time every time. Maybe sometimes it does some, checks for updates or whatever. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I think it's pretty normal for a device that hosts a computer in a way. Michael asks, does it have phantom power 48 volt for mics like Shure SM7B? Well, first of all, the SM7B actually is. No, wait, the SM7B doesn't need phantom power. It's a dynamic microphone, isn't it? Let's check that. I'm pretty sure that that's not a condenser mic. Yeah, that's a dynamic microphone. So you would be able to connect a SM7B by Shure without the need of a phantom power, which, as far as I know, it does not have. I'm pretty sure it doesn't have. The other question with the SM7B is it needs quite a lot of amplification to bring it to a usable level. It has a very low output. Whether or not the amplification of the audio inputs, the gain that's available to you on Maschine Plus would be sufficient for that, I can't tell you. I would have to need to try it, but I don't have an SM7B yet. I'm planning to get one eventually. Maybe if Shure's watching, you know. I would love to have one for obviously for podcasts and for live streams because it sounds so great. Yeah, if I get my hands on one, I will check it. So Little Noise says looks like just a dynamic mic input in the back. Yes, I think so. That's right. What kind of power bank would be necessary to go mobile? Couldn't tell you because I am not a experienced user of power banks to power gear. But I believe somebody sent that information to me. I can see Mick from Native Instruments in the Twitch chat. Maybe Mick, you can tell us. I don't know. Which power bank do we need to power this? But I assume the kind of power bank people use to power, you know, music gear. So, what do we have? Kit complete. Are these your beats you're playing now? No, I wish so. These are just some beats that I picked from Artlist service that I use to, you know, have some nice background music in streams and videos. And they have lots of great beats actually. And also there's some music from people I know in there and some people that do YouTube as well. It's a nice platform to get some nice music. I do try to put my own music in videos, but I don't have enough good music to fill a stream that could potentially, you know, last for a few hours. And also I get really sick of listening to my own music, you know, in a loop for that long of a time. So I prefer to play other people's music. And welcome to the chat, Kit. Nice to see you again. Jake says you back on here again. Yeah, and I'm not planning to leave that soon. I will be doing hopefully doing lots of more live streams in the next time because it's really fun. Abracadabra asks, when it's plugged into computer, it can do everything an MK3 can do, like integrate with Massive X. Yes, exactly. When you connect it to a computer, it acts just like any other Maschine controller. It's as a controller, like the Mark III would as well. So some people were wondering, why would I get this if I have a Mark III? And if I hook up my Mark III to my computer, I have all the same features plus more because I get to use plugins and instruments and whatever effects that does not support in standalone. Well, that is true, but unlike the Mark III controller that you can use as a controller, you can also use, in addition, this as a standalone instrument. I think that adds a lot of value to it, at least for some user groups. And yeah, it's you could use it as a very luxurious Mark III type controller. It has the same layout. It's basically the same design, apart from, you know, aluminum casing and definitely better encoders. They're metal and they feel great. This you know, this touch strip here is not slippery as the old one. It does collect a bit of dust, you can tell maybe, but it feels better. It has a bit more grip, and yeah, it's awesome. So, hey, sounds good. Background music is half loud. That's what I thought. Thanks for pointing it out. I'll turn it a bit down. Okay. Then let's check some more questions. Hey, what's up? Next there. Yeah, Kiprian, that's true. S7B or SM7B is actually very gain hungry. Manuel says nope, it needs phantom, and then he says okay, I was wrong. Yeah, it's actually how you say, a large dynamic mic I don't know the English word for it. In German we say Großmembran-Mikrofon, like large membrane. Yeah, I think that's it. It's a large membrane dynamic mic, and most like dynamic mics that are used on stage or for other purposes don't have that large of a membrane. So when we see a mic of that form factor, most people, you know, like intuitively think that must be a condenser mic because it looks like one. But actually there are dynamic mics in this big form factor, big and heavy dynamic mics as well, and SM7B is one of them. So, okay, somebody says it's dynamic. That's correct. Awesome. Mick is in there answering a few questions. Needs to be a DC power laptop charger, says Mick. Okay, the question about the power bank. So Mick from Native Instruments says it needs to be a DC power laptop charger. Many people who want to power music gear use the Omnio 20. I just passed this information on to you. I can't say anything about it. I don't know my way around mobile chargers, but I definitely will check it. I will try to get my hands on one and check it out because I want to see how I could use this mobile. The kid says, oh cool, yeah, I was just looking at artists and thinking of getting some music up there. Yeah, I can recommend it. I mean, you do plenty of videos. I see you uploading videos on YouTube like every few days, on other platforms you're present as well. By the way, if you haven't checked out Kid Complete, please check him out on YouTube. Great channel. And yeah, if for content creators like you and me, we need to have good music at hand, then we need it fast, and I think Artlist is one of the better platforms to provide that. So Manuel Sauer asked, is there any limitation for the size of SD cards? I couldn't tell you. I can just tell you there's a 64 gigabyte SD card in there. Other than that, I think limitations for SD cards would be something, you know, would be a software restriction, isn't it? The hardware itself would, I don't think, not likely restrict the size of an SD card in any way. So if it's bound to be software related, they could change it. Eumonic, welcome Eumonic. I've seen you around lately a lot. And please correct me if I spelled that, pronounced that name wrong. Looking fresh, thanks. Soundhire says limitation is 1 terabyte, and Mick from Native Instruments says 1 terabyte has been tested and it works without problems. So yeah, apart from me not having a 1 terabyte SD card and not planning to get one soon because they're insanely expensive, 1 TB or terabyte of sample storage, like how would you fill that up even? Like the whole complete 13 or complete 12 bundle is like slightly above 1 terabyte if you get like the ultimate collector's edition, the really big one. That's a lot of samples, that's what I'm saying. And also they are working on supporting external hard drives, so I think the more, you know, the easier way probably would be to, once it's supported, just connect an SSD drive on the USB plugs that it has. And Manuel Zawa says, 1 terabyte is enough, thanks. Yeah, that's what I think. Awesome. Something I want to try in today's live stream is transfer some samples from my computer to Maschine Plus. That's something I have not tried yet. And it works already, apparently, not quite in the way that it will work on the final unit, because there's a little workaround involved. But we should be able to get some samples from my computer in there. That's something I want to try. Some people have been asking for stress tests. I did 1 or 2 in the last stream. Some people want to see a stress test with audio loops and time stretching, because apparently that's an issue for many. I'm gonna try that. Abracadabra says, thanks Dachi, it comes with all the same Maschine software as the Mark III. Actually, it comes with more software. It contains, I can tell you exactly what it contains. I have the info here in my doc. So it of course contains the Maschine software with all the internal effects and instruments, and the Maschine content library, the factory library that all Maschine versions, at least the full versions, come with. It's like 8 gigabytes of gigabytes of samples and instruments and whatnot. And in addition to that, it comes with full versions of Massive, Monarch, FM8, Prism, with factory selections of Reactor and Contact, with retro machines, and with 2 effects, Raum and Phases. And it comes with 5 expansions and vouchers for 2 more. So it's a significantly larger software bundle than the Mark III, and that's something that many people have been pointing out in live streams over the last days, when people were a bit salty about the price tag. If you factor in all of the software that you get within, with the Maschine Plus, the price is not that bad. Although if you do already own Complete or parts of these instruments, maybe you feel like, okay, I'm maybe partly paying for something that I already own. I do not know if there will be some sort of upgrade path or cross-grade path. It would be unusual, to be honest. Normally when hardware, and especially like completely new hardware, is released, manufacturers will typically not include an upgrade or cross-grade path. It's way easier with software, because the software has no physical costs, while this costs the manufacturer money to actually build it and to ship it. So it's not that easy to give a discount for existing users. Evercadabra says, wow, nice. Yeah, I think so too. It's a selection. The selection is not completely by chance. But the plugins that it supports are those that typically are contained in Maschine expansions. Maschine expansions come with kits and come with instruments that are based on the internal instruments and effects of Maschine, but they also and samples and one-shots and loops, but they also contain patches, presets for synths and for native instrument synths like Massive and Monarch. So in order to actually use a Maschine expansion, you will need all these plugins, and it supports all these plugins. So all Maschine expansions are compatible with Maschine Plus. Apart from one, I think there's one that will not be completely compatible due to some reason. I don't know. There's something in there that doesn't run here, but they all will. Practically all of them will work, and so that's the reason for the selection of these plugins, I guess. And I also guess over time they might add more plugins. I mean, there's no guarantees there, but if they can, integrate these plugins that are included into the Maschine, I don't see a reason why they couldn't integrate more of them. But that's something time will tell. How does it handle contact instruments that normally have elaborate UI? Will all your first-party contact instruments be compatible in standalone? Well, no. So far, a selection of contact instruments is compatible, which is included with the contact selection. And they are working on porting more of their own first-party contact instruments to Maschine. And whether or not it will be possible to port them depends on the complexity and the optimization of the individual instrument. There are contact instruments that are super resource hungry, like the latest ones, the cinematic sound design things, like what are they called, with the voices and stuff. And those are pretty CPU hungry, and there are older contact instruments that are quite simple, that just have a few sample layers. So there's no general answer to that. Some will be compatible, some will not. They're working on it. Sponsorship by Club Mate incoming. I wish. They don't do that. Club Mate do no sponsoring, and they do not... They do not do ads even. That's something they never do. I'm just trying to get it. They did one They did one ad like years ago. They actually, after ages, they got themselves talked into doing one advertisement campaign, or like one ad for Club Mate, and it was really ridiculous. It was something like, well, it's not that bad, something like that. They're fun people. So when comparing Maschine Plus to Sound Diner asks, when comparing Maschine Plus to original offers of NE, it's a bit high, but comparing with other hardware, for example, Octatrack with only 8 stereo tracks or a 7+1 master, that costs more. And everybody, yeah, well, it's a thing, comparing gear, apples and oranges, blah, blah. It's really difficult. I was thinking about the comparison to Octatrack, for example. How would you compare this to Octatrack? It's a completely different universe it's a different sound design and user interface and philosophy behind it. I wouldn't exchange this for Octatrack, and if I had an Octatrack, which I plan to hopefully get one day, I wouldn't exchange it vice versa. It's a different thing. So yeah, difficult to compare it. Here's a question. I'm a singer-songwriter. Could I, in theory, plug in a guitar and a mic and use this as a song sketchpad? Well, it depends. There's a new feature coming up with the next update in the arranger. So let me load up something I made earlier. Load. Made this beat earlier. Maybe we can take a look. So here you have your scene mode with the different patterns, and here you have the clip mode. So right now I would say recording and vocals and guitar tracks and actually editing them, you would be better off with a full-blown DAW like Ableton, Logic or Cubase or whatever. But depending on the new features in the arranger and your skill set and your experience with Maschine, it could be possible. I mean, it wouldn't be my first choice tool for this, to be honest. Mick says the Prismatic Bliss expansion doesn't work because it uses Rex files. Okay, good info. Soundliner says the worst thing for this product launch is actually Native Instruments themselves. I mean, they've passed several years to get some high-end controllers out there for cheap just to sell software. Okay, let me read that again. They have passed several years to get some high-end controllers out there for cheap, so just to sell software. You mean they have sold high-end controllers for low prices in order to then sell content that people use with these controllers? Well, that's not necessarily a bad thing, is it? I mean, who doesn't want high-end controllers for cheap prices? That's pretty much what we all want. Yeah, it's a model that everybody does, isn't it? It's the same with Nintendo and Sega, with the Sony and Nintendo with their consoles. I don't know, actually, what's wrong about that? Thunder Electron, very expensive in Australia. Current Maschine very close to digital. Well, Abracadabra, everything's expensive in Australia. I mean, what is not? It's just, yeah, how things are. Australia is expensive. It's far away. Everything has to be shipped there, and it's a small market. It's very unfortunately the case. Are unquized MIDI recordings possible? Yes, definitely. If you record, it's not quantized. You can quantize it. You can also gradually quantize it, like 50%. Then you can, after quantizing it, humanize or randomize it again. And yeah, unquized MIDI is possible. Asked Mark. So it will be hard for them to have normal price for placing themselves into DAWs mode. Now I get your question. So Sounddiner says that Native Instruments have been dumping prices, so to speak, to sell more hardware in order to get people into the ecosystem and then buy software and content. And now they have to sell this at a normal, real-world, realistic price. And people have a hard time accepting that. Well, that is true in some ways. Native Instruments, like a few years ago, Native Instruments were still a company that were known and by some people hated for selling really expensive stuff. I remember like 10 years ago, 7 years ago, Native Instruments products were typically in the higher segment of the market price-wise. Then they drastically changed their strategy and tried to make, accessible products. If you were like a 14-year-old kid, like 7 years ago or even 5 years ago, there was not much in the Native Instruments product catalog that you could actually afford or that you could ask your parents to give you for Christmas. That radically changed. I mean, they have the A-series keyboards, they have the micro controllers, they have the micro machines, they have the audio interfaces, the cheaper ones. There's lots of affordable, budget-friendly stuff for the younger part of the music production community available from Native Instruments right now. That wasn't always the case. So I think them getting cheaper is a good thing in that it makes gear more accessible to younger producers, to people with a lower income, and also to people that live in parts of the world where it is absolutely out of the question that you could ever whoop out $1,400 for a Maschine. I mean, think of some African countries, some Asian countries, India, some places in Southern America. That's a year's earning for somebody. That's a whole family lives from this for a year in some places. There are music producers in these areas too, and for them being able to get their hands on a maybe A25 keyboard for a reasonable price, that's an advantage in my book. I really like this development of the last years with Native Instruments, but with also other companies. Being aware of not only, like, if you sell affordable stuff, it's a win-win. It's a win for users, it's a win for the music community, and of course it's a win for the company because they get more people into the ecosystem. Okay, I was talking a lot. Let's check some more questions. Will it be hard for them? Okay, yeah, that's true, Soundhunter. I hope I'll answer that. Max said, yeah, definitely, just the same. Okay. I hear that Electron was through the roof in certain countries, and it's a shame. Like, price-wise, Electron has always been through the roof. It was always very expensive, but they, in a way, did the same thing as Native Instruments. Like, they came with the Digitakt and Digitone, and for the mid-tier segment, and then they came with these model units, model cycles, model samples for younger people and for maybe hobbyists. No, sorry, this is the character limitation. I make my point in several messages. Singer-songwriter might look at Isotope Spire for portable recording studio. Reason is a great DAW because you can edit takes together better than other DAWs. I cannot say anything about Reason, never used it, and also not about Spire. But yeah, that's some input from VM Sky. Ken, this is a German question. Will an active project in standalone umschalten controller of the Ken asked if a project from standalone will automatically be transferred to a computer once we connect Maschine. I don't know. I would hope so. But I do not have any information about that. Yeah. Singer-songwriter might look okay. We had that. Cheers. Logic, vocals. Gordon says one more question. You can ask as many questions as you want. That's why we're here. Can the Plus be plugged into the software on the Mac? Meaning we can have the best of both worlds. Can the Plus be plugged into the software on the Mac thus? Meaning we can have the best of two worlds. Well, yes, of course. You can connect Maschine Plus to a Windows or Mac computer, and then it will act as a hardware controller for your Maschine 2 software. Just as the Maschine Mark 2 or 3 or the Micro Machine or whatever would do. The free complete start is also great and free. Yeah, that's true. VM Sky, they have some very nice free software titles available. When I was, to be honest, back when I started making electronic music with computers, I was around 14, 15 years old. I would have dreamed of today's possibilities, both hardware and software-wise. There was not much software around that you could get access to. It was in its early stages, lots of it. Even Native Instruments, they just started out when I started out. So I used their very first programs like a generator and stuff like that. but it was very rudimentary and basic still, and it didn't sound as good as today. Of course, computers were slow. Hardware-wise, there wasn't much. There was, I mean, and lots of it sucked, to be honest. Like, if you wanted a pad controller or a MIDI keyboard controller back then, they were ugly. They were like chunky, ugly-looking things. They didn't have any like good features. Once in a while you would have something with rotary knobs back then, but it was always a pain to connect it, to integrate it into your software and to route the MIDI. And those knobs would, wear out after a few months, and they would send random data. And it wasn't a good time to make computer music. We could only dream of the possibilities we have today. I run all hardware, generally no computer setup on the Maschine Plus. Seems like a great way to get high quality plugins and sounds into my music without having to commit to it all. Says Avrocabra. Yeah, definitely. This is what I said in the last stream. This could be a centerpiece of a DAW-less setup for some people. If you have a bunch of electronic instruments, synthesizers, drum machines, maybe you sing something, play guitar, this could be the hub that connects it all. But this is definitely not the only thing that could be that. There are more options out there. Think of mixers like Presonus, or Zoom makes some that can multi-track record. Think of dedicated multi-track recorders. Think of stuff like MPCs. There are various ways to have that DAW-less recording and performance setup done. But this is definitely going to be one of them. Especially when you connect the external audio interfaces by Native Instruments to it with USB, you get more inputs and outputs. Will the deck saver for the Mark III also fit on the Maschine Plus? Asks Carsten. Well, first of all, don't use deck savers. Play your instrument all day, every day. Just by using it, you will keep dust off of it. A deck saver is such I used them for a while, and then I got rid of them because it's so weird. It's like, it's not a cake. You don't need to put, a protective lid on it. If it's dusty, wipe off the dust. Otherwise, just use it. And the deck saver is just putting this barrier between you and your instrument, and then you have to decide, okay, now I'm gonna use it. I'm gonna take the thing off, and then I'm gonna, just have it there, ready to use, ready to go anytime, and don't worry about the dust. It doesn't do anything bad. And never has dust destroyed any of my instruments or whatever, and I've been using synths and drum machines and controllers for 25 years. I guess what I meant, what if the standalone has limited complete elements? I couldn't plug it into the computer, which has more patches and synths than the standalone. That's a good question, Gordon. There will be ways of, let's say you make a song with Maschine Plus in controller mode on your computer. It contains some plugins like Massive X that are not available in standalone mode. And maybe it contains some samples that you don't have on your machine yet. What happens if you unplug Maschine Plus? Well, right now, nothing I can show you because it doesn't work in controller mode yet. I cannot connect it to a computer yet because it's this beta version of the software. But on the long term, what they will do is integrate some automatic way that your song and everything that it includes is somehow, gathered and transferred in the background, so you don't have to do that manually. In the beginning, you will maybe have to do that manually, freeze tracks and import everything until they get that in there. But I know they're working on it, so it will get easier. And just imagine what could be made, like Dachi Pucci said, we can connect an external audio interface from Native Instruments, and I could imagine using it as a smart mixing table if you get 16 ins. Yes, it can be so many things. Something somebody pointed out in the last stream. This could be an effect unit. The Maschine effects are not to be. They are underrated. They are great. You could use this as an external effect engine, for example, in a live gig. You could have audio inputs running in there, run tracks through effects, send them out again, and manipulate your effects in real time with the controls. Big Benjamin says a decisive on its grade if you put it on your backpack though. Oh yeah, the deck saver says it's great if you put it in your backpack. I've seen people do that. They put a deck saver on something, they put like a rubber cord around it, and then they just throw it in a backpack. That again is something I would never do. I would need a case for this. I don't throw expensive gear just in a backpack with a deck saver on it. But I get your point. Ross Simpson says, I heard the in-outputs could be expanded with complete audio interface for Phantom Power mics. Yes, Ross, well, you can, eventually you will be able to connect Native Instruments audio interfaces to the USB port. It has one. 2, right here, USB-A ports. And you can use those to connect Native Instruments audio interfaces. And if those audio interfaces have mic inputs that are phantom powered, you can, connect your phantom powered mic. Kulkin says, according to Native Instruments, Maschine is 2 millimeters larger. So he thinks the Mark III deck saver will not fit here. I cannot confirm, but I read something like that. If you put them next to each other, they look almost identical. I think this is a bit taller, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, had to fix the mic a bit. Carsten says that would be better to buy a new one. Yeah, but if you're spending 1,300 euros on a Maschine Plus, you might throw in a few bucks for the deck saver as well. Sander says, yeah, you can browse external storage, but from what I hear, it is fully on point right now, but will on launch. You can browse external storage, but from what I heard, it isn't fully on point right now. We can try that. We can hook up an external drive. But according to Native Instruments, it shouldn't work yet because it has not been implemented yet. Man, really have to get a proper mic for these streams. If anyone has suggestions about good microphones for live streaming, send them over. I'm just using my, boom mic that I'm using to shoot videos, but it's really not practical in a live stream situation. Does anyone know the, Carsten asks, does anyone know the CPU that is built in? I heard it's something about Intel Atom and Linux. Is it true? Maybe Mick can tell us more about it. I just know it is a quad-core CPU. It has 4 gigabits of RAM, 32 gigabits of internal flash storage, and the SD card slot and USB connections, etc. that we talked about. Can you try to connect a USB interface? Been very curious. USB audio interface, says Frondis. Frondis, we tried that. It doesn't do anything yet because this is a beta version of the software and support for audio interfaces, external audio interfaces, has not been implemented yet. They will do that, but only for Native Instruments audio interfaces, at least for the start. I heard some talk, Josker says he heard some talk about user content not being as good a browsing experience as the pack. Is that the case? Well, let's find out. So this is the user data micro SD adapter that's in there. And then we have our 64 gigabit micro SD card. I'll just plug this into my SD card reader and transfer some samples to it. Okay, now we have to connect the Maschine Plus to the computer with USB. Let me quickly get a USB cable. Okay, here I have a USB cable. Let's hook that up to Maschine. Now I'll connect it to my USB plug. Okay, now according to the PDF I received, we have to bring Maschine Plus to the storage mode. So we go to settings, and then device mode, and then we hit storage right here. Now it says, please insert an SD card to make it available on your computer. Okay, I'll do that again. Okay. It's not recognizing the SD card. And that's not Maschine's fault. I am just realizing the SD connector, the SD card reader is probably not properly connected. I'm gonna try that again. I'm gonna use the same USB port. Okay, SD card is still not showing up on my computer. Okay, now the SD card has shown up on my computer. It's just called Maschine Plus, and it contains some folders with downloads and some data. But Maschine does not recognize that there's a card. Let's try again. Oh no, I'm back in controller mode now. It's restarting now. So let's read this again. To open your content, be sure they are stored on your SD card. In the near future, you will be able to do it from an external hard drive too. They need to be stored in the right folder the same way as for Maschine software on your desktop. You can access your SD card in your computer. I totally messed it up. Okay, the whole thing I just did is not necessary. It's just enough to just take the SD card and, you know, stuff it in your computer and put some samples on it and then bring it back in here. It's absolutely not necessary to connect the Maschine Plus to a computer to do that. But you can alternatively connect Maschine Plus and transfer samples from the computer to the SD card. I'm gonna unplug this now. So we're untethered again. And I'm gonna just I'm gonna just put some samples in a folder. By the way, I can't read your questions while doing this, so if you have anything you want to see, maybe save it for a bit later. We'll be streaming for a while. Creating a new folder and call it Hitachi Pucci samples. And I'm gonna just, randomly put something in there. I don't know. Let's see. I gotta be careful to not accidentally do some copyrighted stuff in there. I'm gonna get in trouble then. What's this? Okay, I'm gonna just put a bunch of WAV files in there into this folder. Let me read this again. In both cases, you will see your Maschine as in your file finder as you would with an external hard drive. Note for system version 1 below. In these versions, we would need the user to scan the library before seeing the content in the browser. To do that, go to settings, library. Okay, we're gonna do that once we're done. Okay, samples are on the SD card. And we put that back in here. Somehow this crashed for some reason. I think because I unplugged the SD while it was still running. I'm gonna restart this. This is the second time that Maschine crashed on me while I was using it over the last few days. And in both times, I was doing something weird with it. It never did that by itself, just out of nowhere. It was always by I was doing connecting and disconnecting stuff, and something confused it. Okay. Hey, Synthanatomy is in the chat. Hello, Tom. Nice to see you. So. Forgot to restart it. It's starting up again. So now it says go to settings, library, and do rescan. That's what we're gonna do. Settings, we go to library, available, and now it's retrieving products, which it does to check what's on there. So now I just see available, installed. Hitachi Pucci. Updates maybe. It's refreshing. Let's read again. System version below, and these we need the user to scan the library before seeing the content in the browser. To do that, go to settings, library, installed with not one, and press soft button for rescan. Aha. So we go to settings, library, installed. Ah, there's the rescan button. It doesn't give me the option to rescan right now. I don't know why. Let's just check if there's something in the browser yet. User.
Yeah.
Nah, it's not, but something's loading there. Maybe it's scanning. I don't know. Oh. Loops. One-shots. I have installed one-shots.
Yeah.
Load it.
Yeah.
I have missed a lot of chat, by the way. Going through the chat in a moment. So far, I'm not having any luck with the sounds I put on the card. I'm not able to rescan for some reason. Maybe it doesn't realize there's anything new on the card. Let me just quickly try this again. And yeah, as I keep saying, not the final software, beta version, still some bugs in there that they will definitely sort out before this goes into the store. Maschine Plus, so maybe it doesn't work because the folder is on top. And downloads, native instruments, user content. I will move my folder to this folder user content and also make a copy, just put it into the native instruments content folder. Maybe it will believe it's something that belongs there, I don't know. We'll find out in a moment. All right, done. Let's put this back in here. And now I have crashed the thing again because I was hot plugging the SD card. I think you're not supposed to do that when you're scanning the library. That's fine. I'm gonna figure it out. Going to check the chat for a moment. So where were we? Card goes into Maschine Plus, yes. Don't worry, audio is okay for streaming. You could use anything like a SM7B Mark IV or else with the Rode arm, but the big, yes, thanks for those tips, Soundliner. Yeah, the mic in front of the face is actually a downside, but well, if it improves sound quality, I think maybe it's a trade-off you're willing to do. I don't know. A good mic arm option for your is, well, actually have a mic arm from K&M, you know, this German company. I think they're German at least, Austrian. But I was always annoyed by this mic arm thing because you have this thing, you don't need it most of the time and it's just in the way and I don't know. Can you recommend a good online learning source to learn the new Maschine? I haven't upgraded and played much since Mark II, so I'm going to have to learn it all from pretty much scratch. Ask Gordon. Something that I used for a while is Ask Audio. I always thought that was pretty decent. For example, Thavius Beck has some great tutorials in there for Electron gear. I didn't dig into the Maschine gear there too much, but I'm sure they have something too. There are others, but the one I know is Ask Audio. Vinny says hello from New York. Yes, hello, welcome, and hello to New York. My channel is all about live music recorded off the radio from New York Cities of the 80s and 90s. That's pretty cool, Vinny. I'm gonna check that out later. So if you're into music recorded off the radio from New York City from the 80s and 90s, which I imagine could be quite amazing, check out Vinny's channel. Jusker says, should the SD card be inserted in the Maschine? Oh yeah, that was the part when I did the oopsie and you all pointed me into the right direction, but I didn't listen. So let's check if it worked now. Okay. I think what I did wrong is, so Mick from Native Instruments says you need to put the SD card in the Maschine Plus, maybe then connect Maschine to the computer, I assume, via USB, and then go to settings and device mode and set it into storage. Continue. And now, caution, this will make your SD card available on your computer and stop the transport. Do you want to continue? Yes. But nah, I think it doesn't do it yet. That's something we might have encountered either a terrible user mistake, because I'm not knowing what I'm doing, or it's a bug. But again, beta version of the software, so potentially not something you're going to run into on your actual unit. I'm gonna wait for Mick to point me into the right direction, but for now, this is pretty much frozen. Gonna unconnect it and restart it. Frontis, at the risk of this going unseen, what did you say? I missed it. I'd very much like to see how it performs as a standalone sampler as opposed to sample player via SD card. Yes, that's something we could check. We sampled something in the last stream. It worked well, apart from me not knowing what I'm doing, but it worked. There has been talk of NI using Wi-Fi to transfer project files from the standalone to the computer. Says Ross, that would be awesome. I don't know that, but I was able to download all the content to Maschine Plus in standalone without anything else but Wi-Fi, which I thought was pretty cool. Also, when I unboxed it in the last stream, I was able to initiate it and update it and everything just with Wi-Fi. It was really easy. I just had to dial in my Wi-Fi password and I was set. That was very, very comfortable and convenient. Soundiner has, have a nice stream everybody and good night. Good night Soundiner, thanks for joining. Frontis asks how many velocity layers will it support for sample-based patches? Well, how many velocity layers? Well, there is velocity mode where you can do 16 steps of velocity, if you mean that, like from almost nothing to maximum of 127. Apart from that, I'm not quite sure. Do you mean the resolution of the paths when it comes to translating the velocity you hit them with into dynamic? Maybe you can tell us more about how you mean that. Live every day like it's plugin day. Any plugin day compensation. Do you mean what's plugin day compensation? Do you mean something like latency or delay? I haven't noticed anything. It's really snappy. It was a bit laggy. Some things like sample browsing was a bit laggy. But then I found out it was because it was downloading content in the background. And once the download's finished, everything was very responsive and snappy. Exactly as it would be when it's connected to my computer. Synth Anatomy says there are no plugins in the unit. These are virtual instruments for Maschine Plus. They are redesigned for it, but no real plugins like VSTs or so. I think that's a way to put it. They have to port plugins. It does not natively run any VST. It only runs VSTs that have been ported to Maschine Plus, and so far this is the selection it comes with. Whether or not there will be more ported in the future, I mean, it's likely, but as always, don't buy anything based on what you hope it will be in the future. You always buy gear for what it's now. And if you think, I need this and this and this plugin on there, but they're not supported yet, well, then maybe wait. No human has ever been able to correctly calculate the number of pita bread that needs to be brought when doing on fire. What? Possibly. Thanks so much, Dachipuchi. Enjoyed the stream. Happy to get first-hand info. Says Trusker. Thanks for subbing yesterday. That's cool. Because for 1,400 you need to buy a Bud of the Future. Says Black Aquarius. Bremen says not looking good so far. Well, we ran into some issues actually with the whole connection here, but this is the first thing that didn't work, and it's still a beta. It's not the final version. Could you import stems from other sample packs via the SD? Yes, definitely, Black Aquarius. You can put every sample you want into here. Frontis says, I'd not use some of these crashes as an indicator of major issues with the device. Exactly, they are more likely indicators for my lack of experience with the device, and also the fact that it doesn't run the final software. It's supposed to have some bugs left in here. It's my and other people's jobs that get early units to find these bugs, to point them out to Native Instruments so their devs have a chance to fix all of them before they ship the final units in October. And as far as I'm aware, everything that I ran into is stuff they are already aware of themselves and they are working on already. Beta testers like Bowbeats or Accurate and people have had like prototype units of this even way before I have mine, and they have helped to sort these bugs out. This is how, you know, something like this works. Plugin, okay, Black Aquarius says he meant plug-in delay compensation. Well, there's nothing, I didn't see anything in the settings yet that indicates that you can manually adjust that, which makes me believe that you don't have to manually adjust that. Same with the audio settings, buffer settings, whatever. It just, I think it has like this one state that it works in, and it works well. It's not like when you run Maschine on a computer, you have to do all these manual settings like audio rate and buffer size and all these things. You can't adjust that here, at least as far as I know, because simply you don't have to. It runs in 44.1 kilohertz, 24-bit, if I recollect correctly, and that's the settings it runs with. It's the same with, you know, I have Digitac back here. You can't tweak any audio settings on Digitac, on none of these instruments. They have like one setting. And this is the same with Maschine Plus, as far as I know. And that's something, in my book, that's something positive because it makes it more of an instrument. It's not a computer, and it doesn't feel like a computer. Maybe there's something in there that could be, could identify as a computer, but you don't have a feeling of working with a computer. And I don't want any computer settings to be done. And that's great. Ist es möglich, die Maschine... Oh, I have to translate. That's a good question by Carsten. He wants to know if it's possible to use the Maschine Plus as a controller and as a standalone at the same time. So the idea here is to use this as a controller for your Maschine software on your computer, but to run some of the plugins, for example, in the standalone unit at the same time to take some load off your computer. I do not think that is the case yet. We cannot test it because controller mode doesn't work yet. There's an update still coming in to do that. But yeah, that would be sort of cool. I mean, if you run Maschine software on a older, slower computer, maybe having 6, 7, 8 instances of massive will really, you know, wear down your CPU resources. But if you could have Maschine Plus do all of that lifting while being in control mode, that would be a cool feature. I would like that. It's a good idea, Carsten. Fronis specifies his question. He means the number of velocity layers in a patch per note, like an acoustic drum kit with round robin and or individual samples for each kit piece from 100 to... Okay, that's some advanced sampling techniques he's talking about. Round robin, good question. I'm not an expert on sampling on Maschine. I would suppose it has something like a round robin feature, but I'm not sure actually. Marek says, man, I remember the early days of Digitakt. It was full of bugs, all gone after a few updates, but it took like a year or so. That's true. Digitakt was very bug-ridden in the beginning. Actually, many instruments that I use have been, but it really depends on the company. I mean, we all know some companies have a very good track record of providing us with updates, you know, fixing bugs quickly. And then there are some companies that don't. Usually, I would not recommend getting something from them. For example, I have a K-Mix by Keith McMillan, which I use as my audio mixer for live streams now. And the reason I'm not using it as my main audio interface anymore is because it still does not support macOS Catalina, at least not officially. Catalina has been released at least, I think, 18 months ago. It's been almost 2 years. And still Keith McMillan have not, you know, released, updated the K-Mix, so it works with the latest version of the operating system that you're using it with. And there's even now a newer version of macOS, at least coming in or already there. So they're really lagging like 2 OS versions behind. That's annoying. That's really a no-go for professional users, and that's something I keep in my mind. I will think 3 times before buying anything again from a company that, you know, is so slow and so unresponsive with updates. And I wrote to them and they told me, well, we tested it, it kind of works, it probably works, it should work, but we can't officially like confirm it yet. What takes them so long? It's been 2 years. And yeah, so many stuff comes out with bugs, and it really depends on the individual company how they handle it. Frontis says, such as the plight of the early adopter. Yeah, early adopters always, you know, have to deal with these issues. That's the price you pay for being in first, apart from the actual price you pay, which also is higher when you're an early adapter because usually street prices go down a bit after a while. So as much as I would love many of you buying Maschine, if possible right now through the link in the video description so I can, you know, pay my bills. In general, I would not recommend pre-ordering anything before it's actually on the market and some independent reviewers have had their hands on it, had some time to use it, and released their reviews. Not only talking about YouTubers, also like music tech journalists. I'll usually wait until something is actually on the market for a few weeks at least, reviews are coming in, and pre-ordering is always, but yeah, this one, it's fine. Buy it now. I'm shilling totally. What's the PPQN on it? I know what PPQN is, but I don't know what it stands for. So I'm gonna look it up. Pulse per quarter note. So how many steps do you have for, like if you record a MIDI sequence, you're hitting the pads. The operating system of this machine has to put your note somewhere. It is a digital machine, so it doesn't have infinite places to put your note between one and another a point in time. It is quantized, so the PPQN states how quantized is it. It makes a big difference if there's like 127 possible places between 2 quarter notes to put an actual note that you played when quantizing it, or like 4. And the higher the PPQN, the more accurate the MIDI sequence that you record will be to what you play. If you ever used something with I'm not pointing at anything behind me, but there's something behind me with a rather bad PPQN. It's really annoying because you play something and then you listen to the thing you recorded and the MIDI sequence it plays back is completely not the same. It's different because it moves stuff around. So that's PPQN in a nutshell, probably badly explained. But James, I can't tell you, I don't have that information yet. Can you show the export render screen options? Says Eclipse. Let's see. I don't know if there are any yet, to be honest. You go to File, Save, Export Audio. There we go. Okay. Let me load something first. The beat I made yesterday. Now we go to Export Audio. So I'm gonna zoom in a bit so you can see more. So what we have here is the source. We can select between master, group, and sound. We can select if we want to export all scenes or just selected scenes. The sample rate between 44.1 and 192 kilohertz. Wide range, 48 is available as well. We can export either WAV or AIFF. Bit depth, we have 16, 24, and 30-bit float. We can choose loop optimize if we want to, so it bounces it as loops. And we can normalize it. Those are actually very, very nice options. I wasn't aware of that. That's pretty cool. So let's see what actually happens if we export. I guess nothing because maybe it's not quite yet there. It says busy exporting. And it's done. So let's check out if it's actually shut down. I want to take the SD card out and connect it to computer again to see if it actually exported something. And then we can listen to it. That's pretty cool. The music is weird right now. What's going on? Okay, so here we are. No. There's nothing on there, I think. So, nope. Nothing on the SD card, unfortunately. But I wouldn't worry too much about it because, yeah, this is still beta version of the software. But you saw the options, they're pretty awesome. What do we have here? Would a portable battery USB run it? Don't like standalone without a battery because you are still connected to wall. Says Birdman. Birdman, look a bit up in the chat. Somebody asked this question at the beginning of the stream, and actually some people had some great answers about specific USB power packs that would work with this, like portable USB packs. Birdman says yes. Okay, that's an answer. Ken says maybe a ground plate that's a battery, something that I've seen for some devices. Cameras have that too. They have this big clunky grip. The grip is actually a additional battery. I don't know if that's something you would want realistically. Eclipse says, what is the boot time when running in controller mode, USB only? I cannot check that because controller mode has not been implemented to this version of the software yet. It doesn't work. We checked it on the last stream 2 days ago. Okay, so yeah, exploding batteries, don't want that. Does it by default export 16-bit as shown on the second stream? Apparently it does, but you can change it. And I could imagine it's possible to also change the default settings in the software once it's, updated, because you can do that with Maschine controllers and Maschine software as well. You can tweak your default options to the way you want them. I don't see why they wouldn't do it with that export bit setting as well. From this aside, I wonder if the export went to the internal MMC. Maybe need to connect the device via USB to mount it. Ah, that's a very good idea, Eclipse. Well, we could try to connect it to USB one more time, but the last 2 times we did, it sort of crashed. And I don't want to make this look bad because it isn't bad. It was just apparently one feature that they're not done with yet. Okay, so I've connected it with USB. And I go into settings and then into device mode, and we can activate controller mode or storage. I've now activated controller mode. Let's see what happens. Fix the zoom a bit. Okay, that did not work out. I think we just have to live with the fact that some things are not yet there in this beta version of the software. Yeah, I launched the software Eclipse, but didn't do anything. Crashed it again. That's exactly. I mean, this is what we came to see, right? To find out where it is not quite there yet. Because if it would just work as expected, kind of boring to stream them. Okay, relaunching now. It's so odd, we've been talking about Maschine for, I don't know, more than an hour now, but we haven't even used it yet. So maybe that's something to do now. As I said, I made a track yesterday night. Gotta turn on the music. Okay. So I made this beat, and I can like walk you through it a bit. So on the first track, I have this kick drum. No, it's actually... Ah, okay. This is a drum kit. And it's all sampler based. And I added a perform effect, the flanger, which I think is really cool. And I recorded some automation. Went all really fine. I run this through the maximizer on the group. And then on the second group, what is it on the second group? Is there anything there even? That's a sample-based instrument from some expansion. I ran it through a bunch of effects. Ice, grain delay, and reverb, and a limiter. And then I have the third group. Ah, that's the same thing. I initially layered them, but then I thought, this sounds way cooler. And this is a sample-based instrument too from some expansion, and it runs through the ice effect, and I have a Rezo Echo perform effect on the group with some automation as well. If I could, yeah, some automation on this one as well. And then we have, this is a pad. And what I did here is I took Massive, a patch from Massive, and I have automated, I've tweaked the sound a bit. And I think I also recorded some automation. Probably not from Massive directly, but I put a filter in there with some envelope modulation of the frequency. It runs through a compressor for side chaining, so it gets ducked away by the kick drum from group 1. And then I have the filter perform effect there, and I recorded automation with the touch strip to give this wah movement. And on the next channel we have the bass line. So this is sampler, and it runs through saturator, cabinet, FM, and compressor. Yeah, very simple 808 bass line, and I beefed it up a bit. And what do we have here? Oh, these are empty. There's nothing in these here. So in total, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 active groups, a 6th one with nothing actually useful on it. I might as well delete this. So erase this one. How do I re-erase those? Always forget to remove, whatever. I'm still trying to figure out all the shortcuts. Actually, not quite sure how to reset a group yet. So 5 groups, mostly sampler, lots of internal effects, and 1 instance of Massive. Oh, I accidentally deleted something. Oops. Let's undo this. Oh, what the heck. What have I done? Okay. Go again. So all of this gives me something between 47 and 53% of CPU. Now it drops to 38. So two things I noticed is CPU, Auslastung, performance. It's a bit bouncy. It sometimes peaks like 10-20% above what it's running at average, but that has not led to any issues. It just seems to be the normal way, either it's measured or it's performing. Something I have also noticed is that it will, if you use some plugins and some sample tracks, it will quickly add up to a certain plateau, but then adding additional plugins and additional effects and additional sample tracks will only, slower, like increase it a bit slower. It's not like if one instance of Massive gives you 25% of CPU use, the second one will not double that to 50 typically. Maybe it goes from 25 to 32 or something. So don't listen to what people say. I saw some people say, okay, if one instance, uses 25, I can only use 4 instances. That's not how it works. That's not how CPU use measurement works in anything. You have the same thing with Ableton Live. You use like 3 plugins and it maxes out at 75%, but then you add 15 more plugins and it goes from 75 to 81. It's pretty much the same here. So let's see some questions. I've missed a lot in the chat. Thanks for trying. Software update, audio module time stretch. Yeah, time stretch, we will check that in next today. Do you still work at Place? I won't say the name. No, I don't. I haven't been in 2 years. How many things can you run on that CPU before it crashes? What's the specs? We tried to crash it in the last stream. You can rewatch that. It's on the channel. We just piled up massive instances playing chords, and at around 9 instances of Massive playing a pad sound with a 3 voice chord each, it started to show us that CPU usage is maxed out, give us a little warning sign, but all that did was make the sound a bit crackly. Like we had some dropouts and the sound got a bit disturbed momentarily, but it didn't crash it. Like we weren't able to actually, make it explode or something. And yeah, I think it has quite some performance power. I don't see myself running into real life issues with this. How many things can you run on that CPU before? Okay, that was a question. So Andreas asks, can you show again more detail what we could do sound design wise with plugins? Would be cool to have full access to everything, but it didn't look like this. Also answered this on the last stream, but we can take a quick look at it again. Let me select the Massive instance here. So as you can see, down here I have my 8 parameters that I can tweak with the knobs. And I have 16 pages of it. So it has 16 times 8 parameters. Somebody else do the math, please. And here I have my macros and EQ, master, FX settings, oscillator settings, 1, 2, 3, etc., etc. So there's lots of things to control, but it's the same layout, I think, as in the Complete Control series keyboards and as in the Mark III controller. For me, I understand this layout and this way of doing it as it's optimized for tweaking existing patches in a performance situation. Like you look for something that you like and then you tweak a bit more and then you play with it and you make music and you tweak something and record modulation, whatever. I don't see myself using it to design a new patch from scratch with something like Massive or FM8, which are fairly complex synthesizers. I think it would be way more convenient to just do that on a computer. Last stream we tested it with Monarch. It's compared to Massive, pretty simple synthesizer. I mean, it's like pretty much a Minimoog clone in software form. There you can even change the oscillator settings a bit more in depth. That would be something you could pull off, like designing a sound from scratch there. It was pretty much a few pages of key tonal controls with a ton of pages for effect controls, but maybe he will go into it in depth. Says Josker, no full access. Okay, I don't know. I don't think he was addressing me. Digitakt has 96 ppqm. That means there's 96 pulses before the next note in timing. Says James. If you use Digitakt as a slave to your DAW, it won't make up on your timeline as your proper timing unless you can change your DAWs. Okay, there's some PPQN setting info for those that are a bit more into like technical details. Mark has no glue. Frontis says he hates when he runs out of glue. James laughs. Okay, guys. Can we do time stretching with an audio model and a loop? Yes, Eclipse, we're gonna do that. Many people have been asking for it. And that's something we're gonna try now. Let's do a new project. And I'll head over to the browser and I'll head I will add a loop from some expansion. I'm in the mood for some reggae. So let's look for some drums. All right. Okay. Ah, did I crash it again? No, come on. No, I didn't. Okay, let's go with this one. Set the tempo to the original tempo, which is 75 for this loop. Okay, so now, aha. So it didn't recognize the correct tempo. I'll set it manually to 75. Okay, so this should be original tempo. So there's no difference in pitch when I switch from repitch to stretch or to formant. And if I now change the main tempo, it's stretched to match the tempo. And it gives me 24, between 19 and 18% of CPU. And I'm going down to 75 again. I think that was the original tempo, right? Yeah, it says in the file name. Now it's down to 12 to 13% CPU. So apparently, okay, making it slower, it drops to 8 to 10% now. That's interesting. Okay. Now let's add a second one. We need the bass, of course. 75 again. Is the volume okay for everyone? Okay, yeah, I think so. And let's add a third one, just to see how this affects Let's go with this one. I think this one we have to not too sure about the tune there, but you know, never mind. It's a technical test, right? So we're at 14% of CPU now. Now let's raise the tempo again. Do something ridiculous like 126 BPM. And we're around 23, 22, 25% of CPU use. Not too bad. If I go down a bit, the CPU goes down as well. Which I still think is odd, but yeah. And now it's down to 15% now, or 12. Let's add another one. How about some synths? Okay. Again, I just have to try to tune this correctly because it's out of tune. Everything's out of tune. It's terrible. So, great test. Thank you, says Eclipse. Time stretching sounds okay. I've heard better. For example, in Ableton Live, some of the time stretch algorithms there are really good, especially because you can tweak them very accurately to your needs. But I also heard way better, like less good. For example, I think something most people would agree on is that the time stretching algorithm in Octatrack sounds a bit dated at this point. It's not really up to, you know, state-of-the-art time stretching algorithms that maybe we're used to from other pieces of gear, hardware, or from software. So yeah, sounds fine for me. Again, something I do not often use because when I work with Maschine, I don't use loops very often because I don't know, not exactly fits well into my workflow. I use loops a lot when I work with Ableton, for example, but yeah, that's a different thing. Okay. Let's see if we have more questions. James P said, what about sidechaining on the Plus? Well, sidechaining is really easy. I can show it to you if you want to. Let's start something new, and I'll just put maybe let's go with massive. Oh, hang on. Let's go with massive, and we'll just select a pad, synth pad. Just go with have to mute the music again. That one's cool. Dusty violin. Okay. I'll head over to chord mode and I'll just go to chord sets. I like those to whoop something out quickly and maybe change it to nice. Okay, tempo, let's go with 106 maybe, and I'll just activate the metronome, and here we go. Quantize that. Now I'll add a second group and we'll look for A kick drum. We'll just go with something from maybe Aquarius Earth. Select the, oh, come on, what's going on? Select drums here, and we want to kick. I was really faster with the 4D controller. That's something that hasn't changed in comparison to the yeah, let's go with that one, why not? No, let's not go with that one. I don't like it. That one. Okay, let's just use the step and turn up the mixer a bit. So now we have a 4 to the floor drum loop and a pad. And now we want to sidechain this whole thing. So I go back to group 1, and in the sound or in the group section, I can now just add a compressor like this. And I can now choose as a source, group B, the kick drum. And now you can already hear it's ducking, so sidechaining. And I can adjust the settings here. Shorten the release. Yeah, there you go. I hope that answers your question about sidechaining. It's fairly simple and straightforward. Once you've done it for a few times, you can quickly do it, but still, it's something I use so often. I actually wish they would just put it in there as a readily available feature, like, you know, one button, assign destination, second button, there you go. But I have that wish for many DAWs and many programs and pieces of gear because I use sidechaining all the time. More questions. If you load Massive from the plugin picker rather than a preset, you get a different set of parameters. I don't know if that's the case. Let's check it. So on Group A we have Massive, and here it gives us the macros, EQ, FX, etc. Now we go to a new group and we'll add an instrument, native instruments, and here we go with Massive and load, and exactly, we do get a different set of parameters. I did not know that. So good point from Eclipse. If you load Massive from the instrument picker instead of just a preset, you have a different set of controls available here. Josker asks if it's more, but no, it's not more. It's 16 pages of 8 controls each, so it's plenty. And Abracadabra says you can, so can you make your own preset on Massive on computer, then import that preset into standalone? Yes, that will be possible. I don't know if it works yet, but you can, in theory at least, also adjust which parameters show up here when you create your own preset within the Maschine software. You can customize these controls. Should be possible to do that too for this machine, but maybe not on the machine, but on a computer and then transfer it. Grave or Die says, I'm thinking about getting a Maschine Mark III or Maschine Plus and moving away from MPC in general. What's the limitations of Maschine software for finishing songs? And Eclipse says Maschine is great at finishing and arranging songs, especially with the new clips function. I think there's many answers to that question. It really depends on your personal workflow. I am a Ableton Live user, have been for, I don't know, 15 years, possibly longer, maybe almost 20. And I am so fast, and I know my way around Ableton Live so well that nothing else allows me to finish a song and arrangement as quickly and as closest to what I have in my mind as Ableton Live. So whatever else I use feels like being slowed down for me. So even when I make beats or loops with Maschine, at this point I export them and I finish them in Ableton Live just because it's my preferred way of working. But since this is a standalone machine, I do want to explore the possibilities of the arranger. It has a bit more in the near future, and find out, how far I can get with it, and if it feels like actually being a complete tool that I do not have to need to combine with anything else. Can't tell you yet, but we'll explore. Time stretching sounds great. Silence Eclipse, great test, thank you, you're welcome. Yeah, Serato sample, not too good at time stretching, I assume. I don't know that. A question I got a lot in the last days by Frog Dealer. Now, can I use my Maschine Jam with the Plus? You cannot at this point. We tried it in the last stream. I connected a Plus to it. I connected Jam to the Plus, and it didn't do anything. It just like powers up and then it's in standby. It's not possible to interact with it at this point. I don't know if it will be supported, because if you use Jam, you probably know that Jam relies on these pop-up screens. Somebody else pointed that out in the last stream. Jam relies on these screens that pop up, these overlays in the Maschine software. And as this is standalone, it has no software on the screen in front of you. It's not clear how it would actually work with Maschine Jam. Some people say they suspect Native Instruments to be working on a maybe Maschine Jam Mark II that is compatible with it, that has built-in screens or something. I do not know that. I can't confirm it, but it's something I would wish to see at some point, because Maschine Jam was a weird product, maybe a bit niche-y, maybe something that wasn't a huge seller. Maybe one of the lesser popular members of the Maschine family, but for those that used it, me included, it was a very, very handy tool to speed up workflows. Certain tasks were so much quicker when you combine the Jam and the Mark III. So yeah, let's hope they either support the Jam or they release a new Jam. I don't know. Some people were speculating about a standalone Maschine Jam. I think that would be kind of ridiculous, because I don't know, maybe it even is a good idea. I don't know that. Some people were speculating about standalone complete control keyboards. That would be cool. I mean, imagine, this in standalone, it would be just like a synth, basically. Random question by Jake, but what kind of camera are you using? I'm using a Sony Alpha 6400, and I'm using a range of lenses from Sigma, and one Sony zoom lens, G Master zoom lens on the top camera. Lightning is so much better. Really great. Thanks so much for doing this and answering questions. Somebody says lightning is so much better. I'm not sure what you mean, Sunstein side. Maybe you can explain a bit. If you record a wrong note, how hard is it to change it? Very good question by Avracadabra. Let's figure that out. How long of a sample can you record? I don't know, Eclipse. I really have no clue. I don't really want to try it now because maybe it's 2 hours and we just end up waiting here together for 2 hours until it maxes out or something. So let's try the thing with the sample. Let's get rid of everything, and I'll just check out some instrument, maybe something from FM8 this time. How about a bass? Let's go with this one. It's ugly, but well, whatever. We'll go to minor and just something. Ugh, it's nasty. Okay, I now have to record something and include a wrong note. That will not be that difficult for me. Okay, I just ran into this issue that the click is actually not loud enough for me. The metronome, I couldn't hear the metronome anymore, so I'll turn it up. I'll just erase that pattern, and we're gonna head back to keyboard mode and record something new. Okay, let's just say this is... Whatever this is, never mind. And the question now was, how difficult is it to change notes if you recorded something wrong, as in wrong timing or wrong note or whatever, wrong velocity or whatever you want to improve. In general, you go to the event editor, and now you have an overview of the sequence that you recorded, and here you have a detailed view, so you can zoom in and you can move back and forth, and you can, you know, make it larger and less large. But here it is at, it's only 2 notes, so it doesn't fill up the screen yet. And what you can now do, I'll try to set this so you can see it. You can now move. Oh, still in tempo mode, sorry. You can now select any note with the 4D. And once you selected a note, now I selected this note here. I can change the pitch with this. I can change the position with this. I can also hold Shift and change the position without being in a grid, like seamlessly. And I can change the velocity value, it's maximum velocity right now, and also the length. Those are like the basic operations that this event editor allows. Something I missed to show you is you can also just change the note by moving the 4D controller up and down, and you can change the rough position by clicking from left to right. So it's a bit cumbersome in the beginning, but actually if you use it a few times and you get used to it, it's okay. It's fine to correct your sequence with it if you need to. I saw an Accurate Beats video where he said he prefers, if he plays something wrong, to just re-record it instead of going into the event editor and editing it. And I totally agree. That's what I do too. If I record something that's completely off, or there's just like a little tiny detail went wrong, I usually will rather re-record it, because I don't want to, just as Accurate Beats said it, want to drop out of the workflow I'm in, go into fine editing mode, but it's possible. So I hope that answers your question. You can use event select mode with the knobs on the right to select a range of notes, and the 4D encoder to select individual notes. Yes. Oh, Sunstein Side says he or she has made their degree. Congratulations. Maybe give me a hint who you are. I have a feeling you're a former... Oh, I know who it is. He says it. Ah, okay. It's a former student of mine. His name is Geico. He's a photographer. Awesome guy. Did some nice projects with him. Hi, Geico. And congratulations. You are now a Mediengestalter Bild und Ton. I never doubted that you would make it because, yeah, you was one of my best students. And he says the lighting is much better in contrast to the first episode of the stream. Thanks a lot. I think it's not it's not really lighting, it's the camera settings, because I figured out how to, I was using the camera in some weird picture mode last time. And now I've adjusted it a bit, so I hope it looks a bit fresher. Select mode is easier, you don't have to scroll through each node. Okay, let's try that. I have not tried select mode. Oh, here it is, select mode. So now I can select a range of nodes, or how is this supposed to work? Ah, okay, so now I can, for example, select the upper. Okay, you can see it now. So with select mode, I can select a range of nodes. Like, let's say I just want to change the upper nodes, and now I can change those. I never used that. That's so interesting. That's cool. So yeah, there's some ways of editing. Evercadaver says not too bad at all. A lot better than some I've used. Yeah, I mean, at least you get a very you know, decent visual feedback of what you're doing. With some other instruments, like for example the Digitakt or Digitone, the only visual feedback you get is the lights on the step sequencer, like the knobs that light up, and those don't tell you a whole lot. They don't tell you how strong the velocity of a note is, or how long a note is, or what kind. Is it a chord? Is it a single note? What note it actually is. You have to read all of these information from the display, and you have to skip through it, navigate to a certain step to see what's happening at that step. And well, this gives you a overview and a visual feedback, and you can zoom in. So it's okay. It's still something. Well, it's gonna be faster to do that on a computer with a mouse and keyboard, definitely. But I think there's some people said they use the touch screen on the MPC to do that, and it would be quicker. And I can imagine maybe if this was a touch screen, I could just, you know, select a note and move it around. That would be cool. I don't like touch screens as musical instrument interfaces that much. I have my iPad here, but I rarely ever use it to make music, not even as a control surface, because I don't know, for some reason, it does not feel like a music instrument for me. And I tried so many apps and they're fun, but I don't know. So not a big touchscreen guy, at least not yet. The right for genau, yeah, the encoders in select mode change to selection. That's really cool. You can transpose that way too. Yeah. And Evercadaver says on his Digitakt, he thinks I find the bad note, then repress it on my key step. Yeah, that's a way to do it. The MPC looks very fitly to move notes with touchscreen. Possibly it is. I have never really tried it. I tried it like once or twice in a music store. But I don't know, I'm not an Akai user, MPC user. I never used one, had one. It's weird because many of my favorite hip-hop producers and artists are heavy Akai MPC users. I love their music, but for some reason the MPC never appealed to me. It's not something that. What's with the double screen? That's weird. Yeah, it's not something I can talk much about because I don't have any experience with it. I am very open to try an MPC Live or MPC One if I get the chance to. I was always interested how it feels to use it. I can only talk about Maschine Plus, and it definitely has flow. That's something that's important for me when I use a groovebox. Is does it flow? With that, I mean, once you use it a while and you're a bit more experienced, you build up some muscle memory. Can you just make music with it without thinking about what you're doing too much? Like intuitively, your hands flying on the interface, and it sucks you in, and you forget that you're interacting with a machine, and you just flow, and your music and ideas flow out of you into it. And that's something it does. Like yesterday night, I was like, okay, I want to check out this one thing. I want to check out how this or that feature. I didn't quite remember what it was, but I ended up playing with it for 4 hours straight, and I totally forgot about time and everything. And I was like, whoa, it's 4 a.m. All I wanted to do is check out this one feature, and I ended up making music with it for 4 hours. And if something does that, it's going to be something I like and enjoy to use. Of my instruments I have in the back, a few of them have that. I think Digitakt has that a lot for me. It flows. I get sucked in. Digitone not so much, but I think that's more because I haven't used it a lot, and I'm not really at that point where I'm familiar enough with it. The Complete Control S49 controller for a controller has a nice flow too. I really enjoy using it. The Moog Sub 37 or Subsequent 37, it has that. You can just forget everything around you and create sounds on it for hours, and it just flows most of the time. So yeah, I enjoy instruments that do that. Bye Geico or Sunshine Side, was nice hearing from you. See you soon. Try gate mode in audio module. Okay, I don't know what that is, but gate mode, of course, yeah, of course. You can try that. I'm gonna mute that first group, and we're going to add a loop. Let's go with something else this time. Let's see what we find here. Something from London Grid, maybe. I like that. And let's go with a drum. Oh, full loop. Okay. Oh no, let's not go with the full loop. I'm gonna demonetize again. No, don't play it. Okay, you gotta be really. That's something I can tell you. You have to be really careful with playing presets, like preset arrangements, preset songs, like complete loops from Native Instruments expansions in YouTube videos or live streams, because there are some people that whenever a new expansion comes out, they just go right ahead to the demo projects, the projects on the Maschine, and they just export them, and then they release them as their own music on digital platforms like Spotify. And by doing so, every video that demonstrates these expansions and naturally plays a project or two from the expansion to show what it does gets a copyright claim and demonetized, and the money goes to them. I had that so often when I first started streaming 2 years ago. I was really annoyed, and I said, okay, never gonna play any projects from expansions anymore, as long as there's idiots out there releasing those as their own music, which is completely not okay. It's completely not legal. It's like, I don't know if it's illegal, but it's immoral. Let's just say that. Evercadaver says his last stream got demonetized for playing a factory kick drum at 120 BPM on Digitakt. That's crazy, man. Somebody, Fonda says, whomever's exporting demos as their own are horrible, horrible people. Yes, they are. Very horrible people. Crazy idea, would be awesome for some iPad Maschine app connectivity to edit MIDI with a... Well, that's a great idea actually from Ross. What if you could connect your iPad to the Maschine Plus over Wi-Fi, or maybe with the USB port, and there would be a companion app on the iPad that will allow you to do in-depth editing of samples or of effects. That's a brilliant idea, Ross. I will definitely pass that on to Native Instruments right away. That's something they should consider. Gate mode. Okay, we're gonna check gate mode. Manuel says good stream. Thanks a lot, Manuel. Appreciate it. Now let's go to the browser and actually look for a loop. One that's potentially not going to demonetize us here. So no 4 to the floor kick drum loop. Oh, I turned down the volume. Okay, we're gonna go with this one. Mute the music. And so we can switch from loop to gate mode. And now the music is only played back when we hit the pad. Well, it behaves just like you would expect it to, just as with the controller. So Frog Dealer, I've had that with presets. Dave Walker says he has been demonetized because demonstrating presets. Yes, I have noticed that happening too. Sometimes people, well, what happens is sometimes people make a song and maybe for the intro, they use a single sound from a synthesizer. And if that single sound from that synthesizer, maybe it's a huge epic soundscape or it's a pad or whatever, maybe that fills up the first 10 seconds of the song. And if that's a factory preset or a preset that's, you know, commonly used by many people, when you play that preset on a video, some search algorithm might think that's the intro of that song and it will be demonetized. But usually in those cases, I was always able to sort it out with YouTube, just reaching out to them, telling them, yo, this is definitely not something anyone can be claiming because it's a preset. The license agreements clearly says you can use it for whatever you want. And I was demonetized, no, not demonetized, but I got copyright strikes and claims or whatever on SoundCloud for actually for soundscapes that I recorded myself, or for soundscapes that I produced myself that contained like multiple layers of sounds, which clearly is covered by usage licenses of these libraries. You pay lots of money for them, so you should be able to use them. But usually, yeah, it's possible to sort it out. Okay, so is there anything else you want me to try with Maschine? Or shall we wrap it up? To Future says he didn't realize it happens. It's stupid you can be demonetized. Well, yeah, it's mostly due to the fact that machines take care of most of the demonetization process. It takes some time until an actual human being listens to the music or checks the whole situation. Yeah, when a machine does not, you know, intuitively get, okay, this is a demo from a preset or a factory sound or whatever. So until actually somebody looks at it, yeah, you might be out of luck there. And on YouTube, there's apparently not so many human beings taking care of the whole demonetization process, and it could take some time. Like Steve Wozniak, co-founder of Apple, has recently posted some videos about a lawsuit that he's now doing because apparently people have been scamming others on YouTube using his name and image and everything. And he contacted YouTube multiple times about this issue, and they just never responded because all of his complaints apparently were just handled by some algorithm, some machine that didn't understand what he was telling it. And he's now suing Google, which is a great thing because they actually need to improve this whole system. Some more questions. To Future asks, how does CPU use compare with a laptop? It's difficult to say. Well, I didn't run into any CPU issues so far. We tried to max it out in the last stream with multiple massive instances and lots of chords and stuff. It held up well, and I tried to make some real life kind of music that I would usually do with Maschine with it, and it didn't run into any issues. It handled the workload I threw at it very well. So I don't expect it to be a big issue, seriously. Evercadabra says, can we look at the clip arranger? Yes, we can. So here's the arranger, and here's the song mode. Oh, let me go back to this and change it to loop. Have I muted it, or why is there nothing? Something weird here for me. Shouldn't it be audible all the time when it's in loop mode? I don't know. Let's just reload it. Okay. So it's in a loop. What have I changed? Okay. Let's try this by recording something. Okay, I don't get any audio now. Was still there in browser mode. Oh, sorry. Okay, let's try again. What's happening? I don't quite understand. So let's erase the pattern. Okay, so I should be able to. Okay, something very weird is going on. I can't hear the loop. Did I mess something up? Let me try this from scratch. I will just load this whole project again. I might have messed something up in the settings. I'm not sure. Okay. Okay, now it's acting as expected again. What was the question again? Can we look at the clip arranger? Okay, yeah, maybe we have to record a clip first. Okay, there's a clip. And if we go to song, we have ideas and song mode. And now it's gone again. What is going on? Something's really weird right now. Actually, you might have to help me here. Good thing with this compared to a laptop is that you're not tempted also be watching YouTube videos on it, wasting. Dave Walker says good thing about a standalone, dedicated standalone piece of equipment like this is that you're not tempted watching YouTube on it. That is absolutely true. The thing with making music on a computer is it's the same device you use to maybe take care of all your correspondence, your social media communication, your taxes, your online banking, your shopping, your dirty needs, maybe your gaming. Whatever you do it on a computer, and it's the same thing that you're using to make music, and it's so easy to get just distracted. There's some, message popping up or whatever, or some alert or whatever, and boom, you're out. And with something like this, if you turn everything else off, make music with this, all that's gonna happen is you're going to make music. No distraction whatsoever, and that's a beautiful thing. Try multiple instances of different synths, please. Is it probably just automatically opening different channels on the original synth when you load in the same synth? I don't know, Ian, if that's what happened. Looks like I missed most of it. Have you gotten overloading your own WAV files? Batman asked if we have tried loading our own files from SD card. We have, and we didn't succeed. It didn't work. I have no clue why. Probably due to this being a late beta version. We tried multiple times. The way it was told me, I was told to try it. I received this PDF with how it should work in this beta version of the software. But yeah, I don't know. For some reason, it didn't. But I wouldn't worry too much about it. It's definitely something they're going to take care of before this hits the market. The laptop, multiple instances of different synths. Well, Ian, trying multiple instances of different synths might be a good idea, because then we can actually see. I mean, if we keep adding this additional instances of the same synth we have seen in the last stream, and it's how I would expect it. The CPU load doesn't, double with every second, or with a double amount of instances will not double the CPU load. But maybe if we combine different synths, it's a different story. So let's do that. Gonna open a new project. Gonna hit some music, and we will start with the first instrument. I'll just use them as they show up here. The first one is FM. Okay, there's a beat loop of sorts here. So let's go with that one. Am I in the mood for... Well, maybe, but I want to slow this down a bit. I'm not in the mood for up-tempo music. And here we go. Okay, so this is the first channel. We're at 9% CPU. Can add another group and add another plugin. This time we'll go with Contact, and let's see. Let's see what we'll use from Context. Maybe a E piano. Go with this, and we'll just use some chord set there. Definitely E minor, because we're deep like that. Yuck. Okay. Yeah, I don't know, something very basic like this. Okay, quantize this and add a third group with a third instrument. So the next in line is Maschine itself. I will just skip that because I think the question was aiming at, piling up different plugins. So next one is Massive. Maybe that would be a good one to use for a bass, I don't know. Or maybe a mallet instrument. Let's try that. Maybe this, I don't know. or better. Okay, this is just for a demo purpose, so let's not overthink it and move on to group number 4. And the next instrument in line is Monarch. This is definitely going to be useful for some nice bass. David asks if there's anything groundbreaking in this stream, good or bad. Was watching college football finally. Well, if you're into college football, I don't know how exciting Maschine Plus is compared to that to you personally, but for me, standalone Maschine is definitely most exciting thing that happened to me in ages. And what we're doing in the chat is, in the stream is, trying all kinds of features. Basically, I'm asking you guys what you want to know, what you want me to try out, because I have this chance to have this unit very early. It's not available yet. It will be coming out on October 1st and probably will take a while until they ship. So yeah. David says, sorry, I didn't mean it like that. Oh, it's fine, it's fine. No offense taken. So yeah. Where were you? We need to add some bass. Okay, maybe we can narrow it down a bit. I don't want to. Where could we possibly find a nice bass line for a house? I don't know. It's not the type of music I usually make. Something like that, I don't know, I'll just improvise something. Okay, let's quantize that. So now we're at 4 groups. We have FM8, Contact, Massive, and Monarch, each playing individual stuff. And CPU use runs around 30 to 35%. Seems very reasonably to me. Let's try a 4th one, just because we're at it anyway. So here's Prism. I don't know Prism very well, to be honest. I never really use it. But maybe I'll start using it more often now that it's on the Maschine Plus. I was hoping to find some sort of strings. Yeah, maybe this one. I don't know. Have to go 1 octave up. Okay, let's record this. that was not so good, but whatever. Okay, quantize that, and I think we have all of them in there now, but let's check if we missed something. Prism, oh no, there's reactor and retro machines left. So let's go with reactor and maybe we find something cool in there. Wow, those sound dope. I have to favorite these, I like them. I was hoping for something like a stab sound. Oh, don't think that's something that's in there. Maybe, oh, guitar sound, okay, but no. Okay, maybe synth lead, I don't know. Let's see. You can see how snappy the preview browsing actually is. Maybe this, I don't know. Let's see. It's a bit annoying, but... Okay, definitely loud, less loud. Okay, let's record something. Okay, and number 7, browser, is retro machines. I don't know. It's pretty crowded, the whole thing at this point. Oh. That sounds very housey. Okay, this one takes quite a while to load up. Oh, that's odd. I hope we're not crashing. That would be the first time that it actually crashes while loading an instrument. But, well, let's hope it doesn't. It didn't. So maybe it took a bit longer because it's a more complex preset, I don't know. Can we deactivate, well, there's obviously some sort of sequencer going on here. Arpeggiator, we can deactivate that. Ah, nice. Okay, we'll have to set this back to chromatic. Terrible track. Okay. Okay, so we successfully made a terrible track using every external or like standalone plugin that's in there at least one time, and we're we're at 58% CPU load. I think that's pretty good, to be honest. Let's catch up with the chat. Oh, lots of chat messages coming in now. I'm having a hard time keeping up, so bear with me if it takes a moment until I can answer your question. So Ian was the one who asked for the test we just did. Ian, I hope that answers your question. I think it went pretty well. Dave asks, have you got sounds to load samples from the internet? I use Loop Cloud. I use Splice mostly. I want to check out sounds. Apparently they are, as far as I know, working on a way to connect this with sounds. You can easily download your sounds right into the machine or something. I don't know exactly, but maybe using sounds with this will become a feature that's nice to have. I don't know. So far I'm with Splice, I'm happy. Which expansions are not available yet? To Future, I have an info from Native Instruments that more than 70 expansions will be available to use on Maschine Plus by 1st October. More than 70. So that's, I think, most of them. And there's one particular expansion that will not work on Maschine Plus, only one. All the others are compatible and will at some point be available. More than 70 will be available at launch, and one will not be available. I forgot which one it was, but it was due to some format issues. David says, I watched your last stream, it was amazing. I already pre-ordered. Thanks so much, David. Really appreciate it. I do hope you pre-ordered with the link in the description. Put some food on Dutchie's table. I have such a blast chilling, Selling the machine is... it's so odd. So these VSTs are on internal memory. Well, Evan, they port VSTs. Some of their VSTs have been ported to use on Maschine Plus in standalone mode. These are completely on the standalone machine, so you do not need to connect it to a computer to use them. You do not even need a computer to install them. The whole installation is done with Wi-Fi. So messing with patches is accessible to the machine, says Evan. Yes, definitely, you can tweak the patches. It depends on which parameters are available to you exactly. Usually you have up to 16 pages of 8 parameters each. Sometimes there are more performance-oriented sets of parameters that cover the basics you would need to fine-tune a sound or to use it on live performance. Sometimes they're really in depth and you can build a sound from scratch. It really depends on the plugin. How easily can you create a sample instrument out of multiple samples from your analog gear? With the Maschine Plus, I just saw the MPC-1 doing it nearly by itself. I cannot answer that question at this point. You can definitely sample with this, and you can create an instrument with this and save it. You can also save it individually as a group or a sound that you can then load in a different project. That's something we tried, and I tried on my own. It all works out. Create a sample instrument out of multiple samples. Do you mean as in layering multiple samples on top of each other, or having zones where you have a sound in a certain zone and in a different zone, etc.? Please specify that. How easy can... Oh, we had that. Not bad at all, says David Stevens. About the performance we just witnessed, I think so too. Fernandez says the feature that Frog Data was talking about is the auto sampler from MPC. He uses it a lot. Yeah, I can't confirm. I don't know MPC, but yeah, I take your word for it. David says Prism excites him because I have been searching for physical modeling and hardware without having to use an Iridium or Kronos. But does Prism Prism does physical modeling. That's true. It models strings. Is it? It's strings. I think back like a couple of years ago, maybe a decade ago, I don't know. There were like two of these instruments, Spark and Prism. And I think Prism was modeling like plucked strings, and Spark modeled stuff you hit with a mallet. Is that what it was? I'm not quite sure. They're both reactor based and great instruments. BLPFRK asked, what are the other big features other than being standalone? Say if you already own Complete 12 and a Maschine Mark III, what things are improved aside from being standalone that makes worth the upgrade? Well, the controller is identical to the Mark III controller, except that the case is aluminum, really nice, worthy aluminum, and the encoders are metal encoders, feel much more solid and sturdy. And the 4D knob has a sort of a metal outer coating. It's still a plastic knob, which I think it has to be to function. It's you know, this design needs it to be that, but other than that, there's a metal. And this is a bit more, has more grip. It's not as slippy, the touch strip. And yeah, apart from like these black zones here, it's just optical thing. It just looks different. But apart from that, it has the same layout. And your question was, what does it make worth the upgrade? Well, the only thing that makes it worth the upgrade is the fact that it can be used in a standalone mode without a computer. And it cannot be used in the exact same way without a computer than it can be with a computer. Of course, this is also a controller, like the regular Mark III version, but in standalone mode, you will be a bit more limited. You will not have access to third-party VSTs, plugins, and like instruments and effects. At this point, you will not have access to all native instruments, instruments and effects. And of course, if you have a powerful computer, you will likely be able to stack more audio tracks on top of each other, more instruments or whatever. So it has the usual typical limitations of a standalone groovebox, like every other groovebox as well. So there are two ways to think about it, I think. It's a really nicely upgraded Mark III controller that has the bonus feature of also being an instrument that you can use standalone. Or you can think of it as a really nice standalone instrument that can also be used as a controller, and then it's even more powerful with more plugins, effects, etc. available to you. I think these are two ways to see it. So it can be worth the upgrade depending on your individual needs. If you find yourself sitting in front of a computer all day, every day with Mark III and Complete, you're happy with that, I don't see a reason why you would absolutely need the Maschine Plus. But if you're looking for a standalone groovebox that does lots of nice things and in addition can be used as a controller, because you're not trying to make music with a computer all day, it can be really worth the upgrade. Do the knobs feel better than the Mark III? Yes, definitely do. I mean, I can't say anything about how long they will feel good and how long they will last. I've read some people complain about the knobs on the Mark III online. They said they didn't feel good for a long time. I can't confirm that on my unit. They're still very fine. They are very evenly when it comes to like resistance. But I had, what was it, a Complete Control S25? Is that a thing? Does it exist? I think it does. I'm not sure. I had some, it was a Mark I. I think the Complete Control Mark I came in a 25 key version. And on that one, the encoders were all over the place. Like one was really hard to turn, one was really soft, and others were somewhere in the middle. So I know it exists, the problem, but on my Maschine Mark III, I don't have any issues with it. And on this one as well, these were really hard to turn in the beginning. And now that I've used it a bit, they softened up a bit, but they feel great. as they say, they induce confidence, at least to me. Feel better. David says, oddly, my order of this has me also considering a 27-inch 8-core i7 Mac with 24 gigs RAM. Well, that's that's really odd because you don't really need it to use a standalone instrument. But hey, man, if you have the funds, that's definitely a computer I would get too. I mean, if you really want to dive into the whole Maschine ecosystem, so to speak, it probably makes sense to have a nice computer, to have Maschine Plus, have a complete control S49 Mark II, and maybe in addition, an audio interface by Native Instruments that is supported by Maschine Plus for some additional inputs and outputs. That would be a nice setup. Make sure to use my affiliate links in the video description to order all that. Can we see the complete control connected to the Maschine? Asks to Future. We tried that yesterday. It doesn't work yet. The software isn't there yet. It's not supported. Well, you can just play on it and it receives the MIDI notes. That works fine, but you don't get any visual feedback on the screens. The screens of the complete control just stay empty. BLPFRK says, so if you don't care about standalone, there's nothing else to it regarding improvements. Well, not really. If you really don't care about standalone and you're fine with the quality of your Mark III, which I think you could be because it's a fine controller, there's no reason to necessarily upgrade. No, that's definitely not the case. What do the built-in drum synths sound like? Asks Fondis. Well, let's find out. I think they're pretty cool. I was surprised when I checked them out a while ago. You can just quickly browse through some of the presets to check those out. So you go to Sounds, and then you have Drum Synth, and yeah, we can narrow it down to maybe let's try some, just randomly try some of these sounds maybe. Okay. I forgot to take a look over at Twitch. Is anybody still on Twitch? Let me know. I think everybody has switched here. So these are some claps. Now let's try maybe some hi-hats. Maybe some kick drums. I mean, the cool thing about these is you can tweak them. You can actually do a lot with them because they're not samples, they are synthesized. So let's just pick one and take a closer look. You can see you can choose between different engines. This one is called Push. There's Maple, Bolt, Snappy, Rasper, Grid, Dusty, Tronic. So quite comparable to the analog Rhythm and Rhythm Mark II from Electron, where you have different synth engines. Here you have different engines too. It's a bit too loud, I think. Sorry for killing your ears. And yeah, you have a couple of parameters. To fine-tune your drum sound. And the available parameters, of course, depend on the engine. Some are more complex, some are less. But I found myself being surprised when I first tried these drum synths. When they first announced them and included them, I was like, whatever. I don't care that much. It will probably not sound that good, and I prefer analog drums. Back then, I still had my analog Rhythm, which I then unfortunately had to sell. And also I thought, okay, and you know, samples and analog drums, that's all I need. But at some point I checked them out and I was really pleasantly surprised. You can do some cool stuff with these. The shakers are cool, especially kick drum. I think you can tweak out some nice kick drums there. Some noodle gratin sounds sound about now. Yeah, it sounds good. Yeah, noodle gratin would be nice. He said earlier the slide knobs feel better. Yes, they do. Have we seen any audio module stuff? Please specify what you mean, David. I'm not quite sure. Recording some automations on top maybe to see how it changes. Very good idea. Oh, I have deleted the thing we recorded already. I'm sorry. But recording modulation is super easy. I didn't notice it adding much CPU load when I tried it. One thing somebody pointed out in the last stream, or like today on Instagram, at Tachipuchi, it is not possible to have a visual feedback of like the automation. You can't see it. With Maschine controllers, you have like the automation on the computer screen, the software. You don't have it here. That's something they could improve. Avril Cadabra said the music might be terrible, but it won't get a copyright claim. I wouldn't be so sure. There's a lot of copyrighted terrible music up there. Speaking of automation, is it hard to edit? Well, yes, it is, because you can't see what exactly you edited automation-wise. So you have to listen. You know, just overwrite it if you did something wrong. Unless you're doing step editing, which is a different story. So, what about sampling? I never use expansion packs, says Engon Endong. Engon Endong, that's a cool name. Engon Endong. It's impossible to. It's a nice one. Sampling is easy. You just connect an audio source. You sample. I mean, the whole sample workflow, I'm not that familiar with it. In the last stream, I sampled something, Micro Freak from Arturia, and it went fine. It was possible to sample it, but I'm not. The sampling workflow, I have to dig into it a bit deeper. But I think the people that I know that use sampling on Maschine are quite happy with it. Maybe let us know in the chat if that's not the case. Can you plug in an external hard drive if you don't want to save anything on the internal memory? Yes, you can, but not at this point. They are working on adding that feature in. I think maybe they add it until release, but they're working on it. You will be able to connect external hard drives. Livenoy says he'll order his Maschine Plus through my link. That's nice, thank you. Eclipse says he missed it in gate mode. If you turn to keyboard mode, it will pitch the sample. Okay. Thanks for pointing it out. Yeah, as I said before, I never really used that feature, so I'm not experienced with it. Try with the melodic loop, yeah, okay. It's good to know, we'll do that in the next stream. I'm about to wrap it up. The MPC one has an auto sampler that will record a keyring up to 4 layers and program it for yo. Lifted Noise points out that MPC apparently has some very nice sampling features, and I think, yeah, it should be. I mean, it's a sampler, isn't it? Well, it's a MIDI production. Originally, it's a MIDI production center. I don't know if sampling actually was a feature in the MPC when it was launched originally. The first MPC, was it able to sample, or was it just a MIDI sequencer? I'm not sure, but well, it has a long history anyway of being a sampler and has some sophisticated sample workflows, apparently, if I can trust what people tell me. And well, Maschine sampling is apparently different from it. I can't really qualify it because I'm not a MPC user. Okay, Eclipse gives some further information about sample gate mode, okay. Go from pad mode to keyboard mode, okay. do that in the next stream. What's the maximum sample recording length, asks ML. That has been asked a few times in both streams. I don't know. I don't think there's an official information on that yet, but just checking. No, I don't have an information about that yet. I mean, theoretically, it's just limited by the file system. I think if it's exFAT, it's gonna be 2 gigabytes. So you do the math, how many minutes of stereo WAV in 24-bit 44.1 kilohertz that would give you. But I don't know which file system is on here. Some people said it's a Linux system. I'm not familiar with those at all. I don't know. David says, one last question. Did we ever determine if it has disk streaming so that multi-sampled instruments can stream from SD rather than RAM? I don't know. I know that's a big issue for MPC users, and it's important to know it. We cannot use external hard disks yet. And as far as streaming from the SD goes, I don't know. But I will copy paste this question into my sheet here, and I will ask it to Native Instruments, and hopefully they give me an answer so I can tell you about it on the next stream or on Twitter and Instagram. I'm gonna put it into the notes. Thanks for asking. Okay, I think I'm gonna wrap it up now. It's been a few hours again. I think we've been at it like 4 hours. Maybe a bit more, which is crazy. How do you switch from a project song to another? Okay, that's the last thing I'm gonna demonstrate before we wrap it up. It's really easy. You hit File, and here it will list all the projects. There's only 2 on there yet because I kept making music and deleting it again. And there you have some settings for the SD card. And there you can save, duplicate it, start a new one, and you can also choose your name if you save it, and entering a name is really easy. It's done with the 4D knob. We checked it in the last stream. Okay. Thanks a lot for watching. It was a pleasure again. Many thanks for your questions, for your input. I'm gonna do another Maschine Plus stream in the next days. I'm very lucky, and I know it's a privilege to have received this so early, and I want to share as much of this experience of using it as possible with you. And yeah, just let me know what you want me to do with this, what you want to be, test it, what you want it to do. You can write me on Twitter, and on Instagram, on Facebook, and on YouTube. I have the same handle everywhere. It's @dachipucci. Just as the channel name. And yeah, if you want to know anything about it, just reach out. I'm happy to help if I can. Izzy Wizzy says, is this my playlist in the background? No, it's just some random music I grabbed off art lists. I can post it somewhere if I can. I actually don't know, because it's like stream music. I don't know. So yeah, thanks a lot again. I hope this was entertaining and it answered some of your questions. Thanks for your input, and be sure to subscribe to the channel if you're into music videos about music production. I do gear reviews, tutorials, walkthroughs, beat making videos, jam videos, music tech news updates. If you're into that sort of stuff, consider subscribing, and yeah, I hope to see some of you again in the next stream. Thanks for joining, and have a nice one. Bye-bye. Stay safe.
Oh.